All right. Welcome back to Outmouse Labs. My name is Penny, and I am glad you're here. We are going to be doing a fairly quick video. What we're going to go over is beat sheeting. So, the beat sheet originally comes from Save the Cat, which was originally designed for writing screenplays and then later novels. So, we're going to look at how we might use a beat sheet to create our plot line or outline for our RPG Maker game. So, what I have here is a completed beat sheet for the game I'm working on right now, called Heroes of the Deadland Waste, and I'm just going to go through it with you. Okay, so we start with what's called the opening image. In this case, we have our warrior, who has a name, and our acolyte, who has a name, and we describe just a little bit of what they're actually going to be doing at the beginning. I also included what monsters are in the area. Our second beat is called the setup. This is where the audience is told what the point of the game is. So in this case, we have a town, which actually should be all caps because it's the first time we're seeing it. And this is just a trick from screenplay writing to help you notice things. So in course, they're assigned to a team, including a mage. Because they're new, we have their name in all caps. And then also a paladin, again, same. And where are they going? They're going to a city called Ingersoll, the necropolis, and they're extracting a researcher named Plinius. Okay, so we have that information. Then we have what's called stating the theme. This is the sort of moral of our story or the theme that we're trying to explore. And so our theme here is, what does it mean to have to clean up a mess that you didn't cause? And how is that going to be stated? It's going to be stated by a guild member who's also being asked to go to the Ingersoll Deadlands. Now, when you originally state the theme, you almost want it to be in the background. It's something you want the player to go back later and be like, oh, there it is. One thing I didn't mention quickly in the opening image is that because this is a visual medium, there's going to be a physical place. In my case, it's a woodland with an abandoned cabin where this takes place. That'll be important later at the end. Okay, so after stating the theme, we have our catalyst. This is what pushes our team towards the plot. So Jackie, one of our characters, is already excited, but Quinn, the paladin, is concerned about Jackie's maturity level and wants to make sure that they're ready. So Quinn gives the party a side quest to clear out a nearby lighthouse. So our catalyst is to prove yourself, make sure that you're ready to go. They go to the lighthouse, they complete that side quest showing that they're ready. Braden is also hesitant to go, so there's a debate process. Braden has a history, has baggage, where his parents were killed defending the Red Tooth Pass, which goes into the Deadlands. After completing the lighthouse, Quinn is going to be satisfied and give the party consent to leave, and that's going to open up our world map. And then the next objective is going to be to cross that Red Tooth Pass into Ingersoll. Now, you want to note if you're going to have any side quests, and I do recommend having a side quest or two for every area. So we have a shrine that can be visited, which will get some more equipment for our mage and for our paladin. And we'll have a short scene there that adds to our paladin's backstory. Also a list of monsters in the area. The next beat is called Breaking into Act 2. In this case, that involves going to the pass, learning more about Braden's family and backstory, and encountering our first undead. There is a short description of what's available in terms of scenery, old battlements, treasures, maybe a little bit of history, and then once again our list of monsters for this area. Then we have just a note that Ingersoll is technically a no man's land, but we do need to have towns that are kind of unofficial, so we get that the first town that they're going to be headed towards is Elkhorn Crossing along the River Lynn. Those are both capitalized because they're brand new. Our seventh beat is the B story. Usually this is a romance, so we're going to have a romance between Lucerina, the mage, and Quinn, the paladin. And we're going to show this in the form of Quinn picking flowers for Lucerina, and then showing that the party's starting to trust each other as a whole by Braden admitting that they're afraid of spiders, and a little bit of back and forth, right? Then we move into the eighth beat, which is called Fun and Games. This is where most of the story takes place. They reach Elkhorn Crossing. We have a list. This is a town, so we have a list of all the structures and who's in each structure. This will help us when we go to make our game later. We know how many NPCs we need. We have an idea what they're for. We have a plot point of introduction of the Red Claws. These are going to be our villainous organization. And then we have the main quest moving forward with the foreman asking the party to clear the salt grotto so they can go back to work, and a side quest where the party is asked to collect some red salts if they're going into the mines. We also have another side quest where to the side of the grotto on the world map you can find a small cave which will have equipment for our warrior Jackie, and Jackie can open up about their history a little bit. Then we have lists of monsters for the area. Next up would be the Salt Grotto. So this is still part of our fun and games. So this is our dungeon. It's earth themed. We have the boss. We have a note about that puzzle, and we have the monsters inside. Then we have Camp Jenny. This is our next town because we're following the town dungeon field game loop. So this will be our next town. Still part of fun and games. The structures, the NPCs, the main quest being pushed forward by the hunter, monsters. We may actually also want to add some side quests here. So you could add side quest to Camp Jenny to bring it a little bit more to life. Then we have the Thicket, which is where the Thunderbird is at, and that's our dungeon. It's a plant wind dungeon. We also now, in this dungeon, we learn about Lucerina's connection to the Red Claws, which we introduced earlier. So we know that Lucerina has a connection to these sort of bandits. We have our boss, we have our monsters, and we're finally done with the fun and games as our bad guys close in. That's our next beat. The Red Claws show up. They openly want Lucerina to rejoin them. Brutus, who's a Red Claw lieutenant, recognizes her, taunts her, but the party's able to chase them off initially. Right, so this is a false victory, which brings us into our midpoint. This is when the party reaches Perspective Overlook, which is the last town before the sort of necropolis proper. Again, we have our town set up with our locations and our NPCs. We have our monsters. And I don't think I'm going to have any side quests for the midpoint, but you certainly could add them. This brings us into our next beat, All is Lost. This is the point where the party feels like they've completely lost. The sheer weight of the crawling undead, the impossibility of their tasks, doubts around Lucerina, it all becomes too much and results in a sort of conflict or fight within the party. This could be an interesting scene, and Lucerina abandons the party to rejoin the Red Claw Bandits. This leads into our 12th beat, Dark Night of the Soul. The party is defeated by Red Jack, the leader of the Red Claws, and imprisoned. They feel like they have failed in their mission and now their lives are in peril. But at that moment of deepest darkness, Lucerina is going to break them out and rejoin the party. And as they are broken out of imprisonment, they also break into Act 3, our 13th beat, which is just a boss fight with Red Jack, this time with the full party. And with the full party, they can defeat Red Jack and establish themselves as independent heroes of the realm, which propels them into our 14th beat, the finale. The finale in this case is a dungeon. It's the Ingersoll Necropolis. We have our monsters. We would need to add our final boss, so that would be under the boss section. I'll just make a note for that because I'm not sure what I want that to be yet, but it needs to be in there somewhere. So we are going to have our boss. Then once again our monsters, finding the missing party of researchers from way back at the beginning. This is Plinius and company. There we go. And then Come On, Let's Go Home, sort of the, bit of conversation before fading to a first black. And then we come back to our final image, and your final image is a mirror of your first image. So since our game started in a woodland with a sort of rundown cabin, we're going to have our final image be in that cabin. And our two original characters, Braden and Jackie, are going to kind of poke fun at this. I told you we'd end up back at this place. I don't think you meant that we would end up moving in. And so there's going to be a little bit of banter, ending with an oh brother and laughter, and then fading to black. And that's the end of our game. So as you can see, this is just one way to do an outline, but it can be a really effective one because it keeps you on task for your story as you outline. If you're interested in this, I do encourage you to look this up further. Again, this is the Save the Cat based beat sheet. I'm going to go ahead and just show you. There's all kinds of graphics for this. Here's a basic one that is pretty good. There we go. So again, opening image, setup, theme stated, catalyst, debate, break into two. That's second act. B story, fun and games, the midpoint, the bad guy closes in, all is lost, dark night of the soul, break into act 3, finale, and the final image, with rising and falling action throughout. This maps on to your story, and then all you have to do is plug in your towns, dungeons, NPCs, and other pieces, and you've got your game outline. Hopefully this was helpful. Happy game making.